at 2:17 a.m., 17 children out of 18 from the same fifth grade classroom got up out of bed, walked out of the front door of their house and into the night and did not come back. Welcome to the channel. Appreciate you being here. That is the setup for Zach Kreger's, Weapons, which has been released just this past weekend. And I wanted to do a quick review for you. I got a chance to see it opening weekend. And to cut to the chase, thumbs up. It was quite a very, very good movie. And I've been disappointed as a movie lover. I've been disappointed far more often than not with my movie experiences for the past, well, sadly, years at this point, and that includes 2025. Now, about Weapons, this is a horror movie, and it has, shall we say, restored some faith that good writers and good storytellers still exist in the Hollywood system. So, Weapons, as I mentioned, directed by Zach Kreger, who directed Barbarians. It's not only a really well done movie in a summer or if not year of blah movies, it is also a hit at the box office. It is, I think, at right now at about 77 million, just under 49 million domestically, a little over 28 million internationally, 77 million and change for its first weekend plus. I'm recording this on Tuesday, so that is a really, really good sign to see it doing well commercially as well. Now, I wouldn't call Weapons a horror movie. Well, I mean, maybe that's not entirely accurate. I guess I wouldn't call it only a horror movie. I think horror movie fans will love it, absolutely, but I think it's more accurate to call this a mystery thriller with a lot of horror elements, especially in the third act. I think that's when it really ramps up into horror. Now, in the rest of it, we get a lot of these horror elements. It's kind of like this dread and this oppression and some creepy things, but it is definitely a fantastic character driven slow burn. Has the horror elements, as I mentioned, throughout, but in the context of this mystery of what happened to these children, because the disappearance is the setup, and what we deal with is the aftermath. How? How did this happen? Why did this happen? So anyway, what children, you ask? Well, if you saw the trailer, you know the film centers around this mysterious disappearance of these 17 school children from this small town in Maybrook. They're all in the same class, as I mentioned, and they just poof, vanished into the night, walked out into the night, disappeared. One child from their class was left behind. And it's just what makes it so bizarre, makes this unique, and I think makes it very difficult for the town to process. And we get into that in the film, and this, not being able to understand what happened is exactly because of what I just said, that these children, because a lot of these homes have their security systems and the doorbell cameras and everything nowadays that we know, because we can see the video that these kids got up in the middle of the night, just walked out the front door, and they were not seen again. No trace. This wasn't a kidnapping. These weren't a bunch of people that went into these homes and forcefully removed these children. No, no serial killers butchering them in their sleep. They were just poof, gone of their own accord. And so the film centers on the aftermath of that, of this traumatic, very mysterious event. And so the narrative that we get follows Justine. She's the teacher of this class. And so, of course, she is going to be under suspicion. The parents, again, because of the mysteriousness of this, they have no one to lash out at. And they, of course, are going to focus on her, on something that's going to give them a reason as to why this happened, give them someone to blame for this happening. And of course, Justine has other issues that she's dealing with. She seems to be struggling with alcoholism. She is getting nightmares because of this. And then we also have Archer, played by Josh Brolin, who is a one of the parents really struggling with this event. Is His business is affected by it because of the way that he is acting or coping, or maybe not coping. And he uses some of his work experience knowledge, I'll put it that way, to start investigating his son's disappearance on his own, because he, keeps asking for updates from the police. What are they doing? What are they? And, he kind of gets fed up and decides he's going to do something about it. Now, one of the things that makes this interesting, and I think done really, really well, is that it is non-chronological. We get multiple perspectives, multiple characters whose perspective we focus on. And I know that this can turn off a lot of moviegoers, although I think that's because usually it's done poorly. But I can tell you in this case, it adds a lot to the story in terms of the perspectives you get, and when they switch as well. And so it keeps the pacing going, and it blends this gripping mystery, like I mentioned, and you've got this slow building tension. As I mentioned earlier, it's very much a slow burn. And yes, the horror elements really kick into the third act, and you get some gory, some gory to it, some gore to it, some violence to it as well. The performances are absolutely fantastic. Like I said, the pacing keeps you engaged, and that is helped by the non-chronological telling of the story. And it's 2 hours plus long, which is long for a horror movie, but that's usually because a lot of horror movies don't have a lot to them underneath. But like I said previously, this is more of a mystery thriller, character driven, and it's got horror elements in it again until it ramps up in the third act. So, look, Weapons has top-notch creative storytelling, strong performances from the actors like Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, Benedict Wong, Alden Ehrenreich, I believe is how he pronounces it. And I have always been of the mind and a fan of this type, that a well-told story with interesting characters is what makes for a great movie, no matter what the genre is. And I think Weapons absolutely accomplishes that here. And its ability to juggle these different elements, to balance them, to balance the character study, the character driven story, and the horror, as well as these mystery elements as well. It's 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 top notch. It hits on some dark themes as well. Obviously, you have the trauma and the depression and the paranoia, because again, of the way that these children disappeared. This isn't one, the type of tragedy that you usually get as a school. And yes, you have to deal with that trauma and the depression for the community, for parents, for classmates, and all of that. But then you add in this element of paranoia because of how the children disappear, why the children are no longer part of this community. And of course, as I mentioned previously and hit on with the teacher, you get the scapegoating that is going to happen in a situation like this, especially in a small, tight knit community. So, look, if you're a horror fan, I highly, highly recommend you go out and check out Weapons. Even if horror isn't your thing, I still think you might quite enjoy Weapons if you are into mystery thrillers, into characters studies, into slow burns, and that type of movie. It's definitely something that you are going to want to check out. But I'm going to leave it there. If you have seen the movie, please, no spoilers in the comments, but I am very curious as to what you thought of it. And if you didn't and you go out and see it, come back and let me know as well. I really appreciate you checking this out. I'm going to leave it there. And if you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel as we get going. And I will talk to you later.